Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steve Geller. I'm the mayor of Broward County. I will now take my mask off pursuant to county ordinance since I'm between the plexiglass and there is nobody within 25 feet of me. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. And some of the things I will go over today, I went over in yesterday's mayor's call. There will be some new things. And I know some of you listened in on the mayor's call yesterday, some did not. Let me begin by discussing COVID. The numbers have gotten much better. They have gone from absolutely terrible, horrible, hideous, god-awful to merely really, really, really bad. If you look back a couple of weeks ago, I believe the most effective way of measuring, the way that groups like Johns Hopkins measure, is by looking at the number of new cases per 100,000 of population. That's how World Health Organizations, I believe it's Harvard, many of the top people measuring use that as the gold standard. And we were up at 143 in less than a month ago. The number should be, if you're under 2.5, it's green. 2.5 to 5 is yellow, 5 to 10 is orange, and over 10 is red. As I said, we were at 140 something. As of the number from last Friday, the number was 61.9, which meant that it's half what it was a month ago, but it's still over 6 times what was considered out of control. Now, again, the numbers vary widely day to day. Yesterday, our numbers were down to 43.3, which is about average over the last week or so. So our numbers are clearly improving, but even using yesterday's numbers, which are much better than Friday's, if over 10 is out of control and we're at 43.3, still a really bad epidemic. And I don't want people saying, well, 10 is an unrealistic number. Back in June, we were at 5. So, I mean, these are our numbers that we were at in June, and the most recent surge has been horrible. It is my my strong hope that we will not see from Labor Day and football games starting to see another surge in a week. But again, we all really hope that that is not the case. I will again urge everybody to be vaccinated. I recently saw a New York Times article which was pointing out that unvaccinated people are 5 times more likely to catch COVID than vaccinated people. Prior to Delta, it was 10 times, but Delta has become much more virulent and much easier to catch, much more transmissible and much more virulent. So you can still get COVID even if you have been vaccinated, but it's 5 times less likely. But much more importantly, it's 30 times less likely that you will get hospitalized. Many of the people that will get COVID once they have been vaccinated will show no symptoms, but testing will show that. So in terms of getting vaccinated, doing what it's supposed to do, it is 30 times less likely that you will be hospitalized if you have been vaccinated. Let me discuss again the monoclonal treatment centers. Monoclonal treatment is available, or it's supposed to be available, to people who have contracted COVID-19 under the state program run at the parks like C.B. Smith Park. You are not required to show proof that you have COVID. You do not have to have a doctor's prescription. As a result of that, we have been hearing that many people are using monoclonal antibodies as almost a vaccine because for some reason or whatever news media they're listening to, they like this one and not others, which is why some of the southern states that have low vaccine rates, the 7 southern states, are using more monoclonal antibodies than the rest of the nation combined. And the President Biden has just announced that they're going to have to start, restricting the amount of monoclonal antibodies available to the states, because let me say one thing and say it clearly to everybody listening. Monoclonal antibodies are an excellent treatment if you have COVID and are likely going to be hospitalized without the monoclonal antibodies. But monoclonal antibodies are not a vaccine. Vaccines prevent you from getting COVID or prevent you from getting very sick. Monoclonal antibodies treat you if you're going to be getting very sick, if you have the anticipated comorbidities that if you have COVID would make you worse. So please, monoclonal antibodies are not an alternative to vaccines. In fact, if you get monoclonal antibodies, you can't get vaccinated for 90 days after you get the monoclonal antibodies. So please do the right thing, do the smart thing, and get vaccinated. Please reserve the treatment for monoclonal antibodies until after you have already been infected and are sick, and your physician is telling you that based on the comorbidities that you have, you're likely going to be hospitalized. This treatment is available at C.B. Smith Park and is also available at some of the hospitals. Both will require you to make an appointment. The monoclonal antibodies are available 2 ways, through transfusion or through injections. If you get the injections, you would get them all at one time. I think it's 15 minutes apart. And it's a series of 4 injections, 2 in the abdomen, 2 into the arms. So again, they each have various They each have various benefits, but don't confuse them. If you want any additional information, the county has ramped up its testing program. I told you this about a month ago. Please look at www.broward.org/coronavirus. I would like to announce a new program that Broward County is rolling out pertaining to our own employees. As you are aware, we have already made it mandatory that if you were in the government center or in any county-owned facility, you must be wearing a mask at all times, except when you are actively eating or drinking, or in the county government center, if you are in between plexiglass like we are and separated from people by 6 feet, which the chairs are. In addition to that, we have been very concerned about many of our employees that have been unvaccinated. We are trying to walk a tightrope of being in compliance with all statutes and orders while at the same time protecting both our county employees and people who come into county employees. Now, I don't think it's been a secret that I disagree with Governor DeSantis on his rules over local government. But I spent 20 years in the legislature. I have been trained to respect the office of the governor and whatever person is occupying that seat at any time, regardless of which party he or she may be a member of. So the county is going to come up with an initial set of steps right now, and we will see what we do in the future, in order to encourage employees to be fully vaccinated for the COVID-19 virus, and to take into account the healthcare-related costs associated with COVID-19 positive unvaccinated employees. The county is establishing a wellness vaccination program that will utilize a two-step incentive and surcharge testing model. This is part of the county's health and wellness program. Once we fully adopt and implement this, which will be done prior to the end of this month, so it's the 15th, in the next 2 weeks or so, we will have this program fully implemented. Perhaps it may start on as late as October 1st, but no later. Beginning then, all county eligible employees will have the opportunity to provide proof of vaccination and receive a one-time monetary incentive of $500. This will be for complete vaccination. So if you have taken a vaccination that requires 2 shots, Pfizer or Moderna, and you have only one, you are not eligible and will be considered unvaccinated. After that 60-day incentive period ends, we will then, if you have not shown us proof of vaccination during that 60-day period, all benefit eligible employees, all employees receiving benefits such as health insurance who have not shown proof of vaccination will be paying a bi-weekly surcharge of $20. If an employee subsequently submits proof of vaccination, the surcharge will cease at the beginning of the next pay period. There will not be any back pay. If you add in the incentive and the penalty, the incentive and the surcharge, it's $1,000 difference. It is the county's intent, and we are still working through the details on this, that benefit eligible employees who have not submitted proof of vaccination within the 60 days will then also be required to submit to weekly COVID testing. The county has the ability to require our own employees to submit to testing. So if they have not provided proof of vaccination at the end of the 60-day period, they will both have a insurance surcharge and be required to undergo weekly testing. I refer to this as a carrot and twig approach because it's really not a huge stick, it's kind of a little twig. We're going to try this first and see if this works. We are going to re-examine this at the end of the year. If at the end of the year we find that there is substantial compliance between the weekly surcharge and the bonus, that the overwhelming percentage of our employees have been vaccinated, we may leave it at that. If we still have a large percentage of our employees that remain unvaccinated, we will have to at least consider mandatory vaccinations. We are trying to do this in a measured fashion that we believe is in full compliance with both executive orders of the governor and with Florida statutes. What we are not doing, we are not issuing any county order. We are taking administrative action with our own employees only, which we believe we have every legal right to do, and we believe we have the legal right to do more if this is not sufficient. But in negotiating and speaking with our employees, and this will apply to all of our eligible benefit employees, union and non-union, we're trying this first step and see if that will take us where we need to go. Let me move now to, while still on COVID, at my mayor's call yesterday, both the North and South Broward hospital districts mentioned their visitor policies. So I think we have these charts on the screen. Broward Health is at a level orange, and is the chart on the screen? Yeah, there it is. Okay, this is at the North Broward Hospital District, also known as Broward Health. This went into effect on 9/6/21, about 9 days ago. You can see it if you're hospitalized and you have COVID, you can have no visitors. If you're hospitalized, you're COVID negative, you may have one designated visitor during limited hours. During outpatient, there is no visitation if you're COVID positive. There is no visitation also if you're COVID negative. In emergency room, no visitation if you're COVID positive, one designated visitor if you're COVID negative. During labor and delivery, you may have one designated visitor during the actual labor and delivery, but that's only one. They may not leave and re-enter. And COVID negative, one designated visitor. And pediatric, if you have COVID, it is only one designated parent or guardian per 24 hours. Without COVID, it is one parent or guardian at a time. If I can see the Memorial screen, this is from the Memorial South Broward Hospital District. As you can see, this is, well, it's up there for, okay, I thought there was a page missing, all right. If you're COVID positive, if you're hospitalized or negative, no visitation if you're in the hospital. And that applies whether you're hospitalized, ICU, outpatient emergency, or behavioral health, no visitation whether you're positive or negative. Next slide, please. And if it's an end of life, they will permit one designated compassionate visitor at a time if you're COVID positive, up to two. But again, this is at the discretion of the hospital staff. Labor and delivery for COVID positive, no visitors even during labor and delivery. One visitor if you are unvaccinated, excuse me, if you're not. I think this may be backwards, but you can read the chart. and we will make that available afterwards. Let me move off of COVID into the Broward County Structural Organization Review. I think that all of you have seen or are aware that we have had this after the tragedy at the Champlain Towers. I appointed a committee to discuss the issues pertaining to condominiums. This committee has had over 24 hours of hearings. The committee has 4 legislators on it: Senator Lauren Book, Senator Perry Thurston, 2 state representatives, Representative Chip LaMarca, Representative Michael Gottlieb. Representative Gottlieb is the chair or incoming chair of the Broward legislative delegation. Senator Thurston was the outgoing chair. We have 4 municipal officials, we have technical experts, we have condominium lawyers, we have representatives of condominium organizations and many other groups. And as I said, we've had engineers, we've had over 24 hours of hearings, and we have already distributed to our members our draft committee recommendations, which have, at our last meeting, we discussed them and voted on them, but they were not in final form drafted by the county attorney. These have been distributed, and these will be voted on this Friday at 10 a.m. in this room. So the press is certainly invited to that. I think you may wish to attend that. Starting at 10 a.m. We have recommendations pertaining to reserves. For example, right now, condominiums can waive their reserves. Some people advocated that they should not be able to waive their reserves at all. Some people said you must permit them to waive the reserves because some of them are so far gone right now that if you required, even if you gave them 5 years to bring their reserves up to snuff, it would simply be too expensive. We agreed that in the interest of both safety and affordability, that condominiums will still be able to waive their reserves, but instead of a majority vote, it would require a 3/4 vote, and that's of the people voting at a quorum. And also that there would have to be a reserve study done every 3 years, which has to be distributed. That there already is a requirement for reserve study to be done, but there's no requirement that that be distributed to the members. The members should know what the reserves are and what they are voting to waive, how much it will cost. We're discussing requiring more frequent inspections instead of every 40 years, every 30 years, and 10 years thereafter. Again, because we have legislators on this, we are urging that this be done at a statewide basis. We're going, again, to further encourage reserves. We're going to require that or recommend requiring that prospective purchasers of condominiums be given a copy of the most recent reserve study so that they know whether or not they're or what the extent of the reserves are. We want the Florida Realtors Forum, and again, the Realtors were on the study commission, to incorporate the language of the Florida statute requiring that disclosure for condominium sales be provided. We would like the state of Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation to serve as a central repository for condominium documents, including their insurance, their reserve studies, etc. We were unaware. We thought that all condominiums had to have insurance. In fact, current Florida statutes say that all condominiums must use their best efforts to obtain insurance. We want that changed to they must obtain insurance. We are recommending that the local governments be required to be given all copies of all safety inspection reports performed by engineers. So if there is a failing report, that the city will know about this. In Broward County, I can tell you that the cities are in charge of, the city building officials are in charge of enforcing this in the 99% of the county that is incorporated. Less than 1% of the county is unincorporated, and in those cases, the county building official has responsibility for that. We are expecting, candidly, that insurance is going to do a lot of this. We are highly concerned that we've been told that we should expect insurance rates in condominiums to go up probably by a minimum of 25%, which again is going to lead to affordability issues. And we are also told that many insurance companies are not going to insure oceanfront condominiums if they haven't had their engineering study within 20 or 25 years. And although we're recommending that 10 years still be the required re-examination, we are told that many insurance companies may require it more frequently than that. We're discussing having additional training. Again, not a lot, but because it's hard enough to get people on boards already, but we're discussing having additional training, 1 additional hour. I believe it's every 2 years, could be every 4 years, whenever their training cycle is, to make them aware of the structural issues pertaining to condominiums. And we are requesting, because a lot of people who live in condominiums just don't understand the importance of communal living. A lot of people think it's my condo, I paid for it, and nobody's going to tell me what to do. That's not communal living. That when you choose to live in a condominium, you are a part of the whole, and there needs to be better training and understanding to the general public that if you're going to move into a condo, it's communal living. So again, we will be voting on all of these items for final passage this Friday at 10 o'clock. It is our hope that since all of the documents have already been distributed, everything has been drafted, it is our hope that we will have the meeting concluded by noon. Let me bring up film. As you have heard me discuss, Broward is bringing film back. We have currently advertised for the position of film commissioner for Broward County. The deadline to apply for that is today. So if any of your viewers are watching and wanted to apply, it's been publicly noticed now for several weeks. We've received, at last count, I think it was about 60 applications. So the general public knows about this, but the deadline for application is today. And if you wanted to apply, I believe it is on broward.org. I can't tell you where, but I believe it's Broward County Careers. That money is in the budget. We are, for the film commissioner and their assistants, previously there has been a position that has not been called film commissioner, and this work has been done by the Tourist Development Council. We apparently, film commissioner is a term of art. We are upgrading the position. We are working, we're in negotiations with some parties to try and help us lobby the legislature, not as lobbyists, but as, you know, people in the film industry with recognizable names that are willing to come up and help us try and lobby the legislature, you know, to bring film back to Florida. Florida was the 3rd largest film state in the nation before we ended our film incentive program. We are no longer in the top 20. We're the only state in the southeastern United States that does not have a film incentive program. Broward is going to match the Miami-Dade program, and we're doing what we can, but We're doing what we can. Our incentives are a fraction of what the state used to have. So we are also taking other steps, including capital funding for the for a new soundstage that the county will own and operate in Broward. And again, we're doing everything we can to bring film back. Let me discuss reapportionment. It's a long press conference, but this, I believe, is the last topic. Then I'll be closing with hurricanes. As everybody knows, reapportionment, also known as redistricting, is the process where we have to redraw our boundaries every 10 years. Under our charter in Broward County, we want everything to be done in the open. We are required to hire a university to draw and submit a minimum of 4 maps to the county commission. Broward County has selected FIU as our consultant. They've been meeting with county commissioners. They've been meeting with the public. There will be 6 public hearings conducted by FIU that is currently up on the screen. On Thursday, September 23rd, there is a public hearing at 7 o'clock at Miramar at City Hall. On Monday, September 27th, at the Broward County Library, Hollywood Branch, 2600 Hollywood Boulevard, inside the Circle. 7 o'clock. On Tuesday, September 28th, at the Broward County West Regional Library, 8601 West Broward Boulevard, 7 o'clock public hearing. 7 o'clock public hearing on Thursday, September 30th, at the E. Pat Larkins Community Center, 520 Northwest 3rd Street. On Saturday, October 16th, there is a 9 a.m. Reapportionment public hearing at the Champions Hall Community Center, 6601 Boulevard of Champions, North Lauderdale. And finally, on Wednesday, September 29th, is a virtual hearing at, I'm not sure if that's 6 or 7. I'm sorry, that's 7 o'clock as well. And the county, remember, FIU will have to draw maps, but it is impossible to comply with all criteria, because the criteria says that the map should be compact, and the criteria and should follow major roadways or rivers, and they also say that they should follow municipal boundaries. Unfortunately, in Broward, our cities are not compact and don't follow major roadways. You have many examples where when cities were doing annexation, they would annex areas blocks and blocks away by linking no wider than, for example, Pembroke Park is shaped like a barbell. You've got a section here and a section here, and then Pembroke Road connects them. You have a big section of Tamarack that is surrounded by Fort Lauderdale. So you can't comply with everything, but FIU is going to do the best they can, and then the county will vote to either adopt one of those maps or make public comments and reject all of the maps, and then FIU will have to come up with more maps based on the public comment. If anybody has any questions, I urge you to contact your county commissioners on this, or I guess county mayor's office, or your local municipal officials. Finally, hurricane season. Please don't get complacent. Look at what has happened to poor New Orleans, hit twice. The devastation of the hurricane that first hit New Orleans and then devastated the Northeast. It is absolutely clear that climate change is worsening the amount of water that is being released in these hurricanes and floods. And there has been no hurricane that has really come particularly close to Broward County. But we're in the absolute heart right now of the worst time of hurricane season, which generally is the last 2 weeks of August all of September, first 2 weeks of October. Those 8 weeks are about as close as you're going to get to the heart of it. We are now in the heart of the heart, so please do not get complacent. Just remember, if you know you're going to use batteries and you can afford them, stock up now for the rest of the year. Stock up now for your Christmas needs. If you know that you eat soup or peanut butter, wait till, go now. There's always BOGOs at different stores, or buy one, get one free, buy one, get one 50% off. Stock up now while the items are on the shelf. If you have hurricane shutters, check that they're working now. If there's a part that you need, when you can still get it done. In closing, let me just say, we know when we had the mayor's call yesterday, there are just at, I don't believe, I was told I'd be sent the numbers from Broward General. If I got them, I'm not aware of them. But there were 10 children inpatient, hospitalized at Joe DiMaggio. Children. We also, and I'm checking right now, because I thought I had this number, and I don't. As of this Monday, there were 93 verified, again, at Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, 93 children, and Monday was, I believe, the 13th, that had been verified as positive COVID children emergency department visits. So the best way of protecting yourself, your friends, your family, your community is by getting vaccinated and wearing a mask. If that's not enough, do it to protect your country, do it because it's the patriotic thing to do, and do it to protect the children who are too young to get vaccinated. Please get vaccinated and wear a mask. And at this point in time, I would also like, for those of people watching that are of the Jewish faith, Gemar Tovah, and have an easy fast. And at this point in time, I would be happy to answer any questions.
What is the number of employees in Broward County, and what's the percentage of employees who've been vaccinated?
Right now, we don't know the percentage of employees that are vaccinated. It is my understanding that we are approximately 6,800 employees. That number varies, believe it or not, from day to day with that, but it's approximately 6,800. We do not know, and that's why I said the first step is going to be what I've just announced. Employees will now have an incentive to let us know that they have been vaccinated. So we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens after the vaccine bonuses kick in and after the vaccine surcharge kicks in for non-vaccinated employees, and then we'll see what number that takes us to.
Mayor, can you run down those details again one more time? The $20, is that weekly, bi-weekly? Can you just go down those details one time?
Broward County payroll is biweekly. So there is obviously, 26 times 20 is $520. So they will do a annual surcharge of $520, $20 every 2 weeks, plus they will lose out on the $500 bonus, which means, as I said, the carrot and twig approach, because it's not yet that big of a stick. But we hope this will be sufficient. We are trying to be working with our employee unions. If we find that this is not sufficient, as I said, we will re-examine this at the end of the year.
There was also a requirement for a weekly negative
Yes, sir.
COVID vaccine again for those, on those?
For those
vac-
people that have chosen to endanger the community by not being vaccinated, in order for us to protect the community, we will require them to get a weekly negative test. We know that we have the legal right to require testing of our employees.
Who pays for that, sir? You?
The county will pay for that.
And,
Again, at this point in time, we're trying our best to, encourage voluntary compliance.
1,600 employees, that does not include bargaining units?
I don't know what you,
Police, fire, union, that's including union employees, and this does not include union employees, right?
I don't know, I said 6,800 employees.
6,800, right, but not BSO.
No, the 6,800 are the county employees, including our unions. Roughly 85% of our employees are unionized. Only about 15% of the top county staff are ununionized.
So this would apply to BSO as well?
No, this does not apply, it is my understanding, to our county constitutional officers because they control the terms of employment. The sheriff, the supervisor of elections, the clerk of the courts, and the public defender, the state attorney, I'm sorry. No, not the PD and state attorney. The county constitutional officers are the property appraiser, the clerk of courts, and the sheriff. And they are separately elected. We do not control what their benefits are, what their employees do. So we cannot control that. I would not be surprised if some of them at least don't follow our lead, but that is up to them. I believe that the supervisor of elections has already mandated vaccines for his employees. These are county government workers who, if you follow the chain of command, they all ultimately report to the county administrator, Bertha Henry. We cannot control people that do not report ultimately to Bertha Henry. If they report to the county constitutional officers, they negotiate the terms of employment with their employees. It does include union employees that work for the county government.
To include BSO?
No. Okay, let me try this again. BSO does not, if a sheriff's deputy does something wrong, they are disciplined not by the county administrator, they are disciplined by the sheriff. If their salaries, their benefits, their wages are all run by the sheriff, because he's a separately elected county constitutional office. For all employees that go up the chain of command to the county administrator, this will apply to them. If they go up the chain of command to a differently elected county constitutional officer, the sheriff, the clerk of courts, or the supervisor, and there's one more, there's four, property appraiser. We have nothing to do, we cannot control those employees.
I want to go over the timeline again.
Yes, ma'am.
You said between now and October 1.
Yes.
When you are implemented.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, between now and October 1, or let's say October 1, that is when the clock will start in terms of.
Yes, ma'am.
If you have 60 days from October 1.
This was finalized this morning. Okay. And so obviously we need to give our employees notice that, yes, we're going to do this. That notice has not yet gone out. It will go out over the next few days, possibly as long as a week, but we will let them know what we are doing. We will send copies to all of the unions. Again, the unions have been notified in general, but I've only given you general terms. It has to be written down and clarified, but by October 1st, is when we expect the date will start. I mean, we could start it on the 29th. I don't know what day of the week that, hold on. If we started it on the, 30th, that's a Thursday. So, I don't know, but it approximately will be started on October 1st.
And you have 60 days to get vaccinated.
You have 60, if you show us proof of vaccination within 60 days, you will receive a bonus,
You get that $500.
the $500 bonus. If you fail to show us proof of vaccination within that 60 days, on the first pay period after the 60 days, you will start being docked $20 per week as a surcharge to pay for the cost, additional cost of your health insurance.
You're saying by
Not per week, per every 2 weeks.
Bi-weekly, per pay period.
per paycheck.
Yes, ma'am, per pay period.
And I have you comment on something else. Did you see the new numbers that came out in terms of the death rate in Broward and Miami-Dade? It was much higher than the COVID death rate. I think it showed an average over 7 days, I think Broward lost, I mean, literally hundreds of people were dead.
I have not seen the latest, but I'd be surprised if it was hundreds of people a day over the last week. You're saying that Broward County has lost, between 1,000 and 2,000 people?
Well, needless to say, there's been a high number of deaths.
That's expected. Let me explain. You have the number of cases. The number of cases goes up, number of hospitalizations goes up. That is a leading indicator. As the cases are going down, the people that got sick are getting more sick. The people that are in the hospitals, if you're in intensive care, if you're on a ventilator, you can be there for a week or 2 or 3 and then die. So deaths are a lagging indicator, and it is to be expected that even after the number of cases starts going down, that the number of deaths will continue to increase. The problem is some government officials point to whichever number is more favorable to them at any given time. If the number of cases or hospitalizations are going up, they're going to say, yeah, but look, the deaths aren't. And then when the deaths are going up and the number of hospitalizations are going down, they're going to say, look, the hospitalizations are going down. You need to pick a number and stick with it. And we don't have elected officials that are doing that.
But the death rate still, statewide, in Florida.
I want to remind you that last month, Broward County led the nation, not the state. Broward County led the nation in the number of hospitalizations. We were number 1. That's not per capita. Number 2 was Harris County, Texas, which is Houston, which is more people than Broward. Number 3 was Miami. Number 4 was LA. LA has roughly 8 million people. Broward is roughly 2 million people. They have 4 times our population, but we still had more people hospitalized in Broward. So am I surprised at how many people are dying? I am appalled, but I am not shocked, because if you have that many people hospitalized, you have to assume that a certain percentage of them are going to die, despite the valiant efforts of the healthcare professionals that do everything they can to treat them. You know how we can avoid people getting hospitalized and dying? Get vaccinated. Because remember, the vaccination not only protects you, it protects other people. If enough people had gotten vaccinated early, we could have prevented Delta from being nearly as bad as it is now.
Mr. Mayor,
Let me finish her question and then.
Where was the failure then, from your perspective?
I have said before, I respect the office of the governor, but the governor's position, which has been to tell the federal government, don't tell us what to do because what works in New York doesn't work in North Dakota. I find some sense in that. But then when we turn around and tell him, Governor, we agree with you, local governments are better. And by the way, traditionally in this country, the health management has been left up to the cities and counties. So Governor, what works in Bradford County, population 28,000, doesn't work in Broward, population 2 million. Give us local control. And he says no, because I'm going to tell the federal government they're too big, but local governments, you're too small. Only the state that I head should have the ability to make any healthcare decisions. I disagree with that. Yes, sir.
Governor told counties and cities, things like that they cannot mandate vaccinations for employees.
That's correct.
Are you concerned with the
No,
state and what you-
absolutely not. As I said, we are not mandating vaccinations for employees. Might we have gone further without the governor's order? It was up for discussion. But we are not mandating vaccinations. We are using a carrot and twig approach. All right, if you want, I'll say carrot and stick, but it's a little stick. It's a carrot and twig approach, and we believe it is absolutely in compliance with the governor's order and the legislature's statute. As I have said, I spent 20 years in the legislature. I love the Florida legislature. I respect the office of the governor. And as I sit here, if there was a Bible anywhere in front of me, I'd put my hand on it and say, I absolutely believe that what we're doing is in compliance with both the governor's order and the statute.
And this bonus is $500. It will cost roughly $3.4 million. Where is this money coming from?
This is coming from the federal funding that has been made available to us. I have not actually worked out the math, but 3.4 sounds correct.
And Mayor, that window.
Yeah, throw it at 6.8, 3 yeah, right.
Right. October 1st, so window would open October 1st, so employees would have all of October, all of November, then presumably around December, they would incur the surcharge.
That is correct.
Right. And then with respect to the incentive payment, that window period.
That window closes.
Window closes.
When you've got 60 days to bring in your card.
Incentive in December?
I'm sorry?
Receiving the incentive in December?
We haven't worked out every detail, which is one of the reasons it can't be done today. We're working out the details now. We'll have all of those to our employees shortly. So today is Wednesday. Most of our Jewish employees will not be here tomorrow. So I don't know we'll be able to get this done Friday. It will probably be midweek when we get full final details out. Are there any additional questions? Going. Last chance for questions. Gone. We are adjourned. Thank you for being here today. I know that all of you have my telephone number. If any of you need to reach me, you know how to. Thank you for being here.